guys, we out here. We are listening to Short and Sweet, a Donut Princess podcast, where I explore small business tips, entrepreneurship, highlighting and uplifting the AAPI community, and so much more. These are topics that I feel extremely passionate about to share not only my journey, but other amazing people's journeys. And today I have Borey Chau, and he is here. He's actually from Long Beach, and I'm actually super excited to dive into his story and his perspective and his mission. And without further ado, Borey, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Borey just dealt with 18 minutes of technical difficulties, but that's all a part of it.
Yeah.
So, I love being able to get to know my guests over this podcast. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up.
So Long Beach, California, as a lot of people would know, is like the mecca for Cambodians. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we have one of the biggest population of Cambodians outside of Cambodia. Yep. So anything you could think about Long Beach, the stereotypes, the discrimination, gang wars, race wars, stuff like that is all there, but it's what makes you who you are as a person.
Now, for people who are not Cambodian, are not from here, could you talk a little bit more about what that is and paint that picture for people?
So Long Beach is a neighboring city of LA and Compton. So if you think about LA, that's like where the birth of gangs was. You think about Compton, you think about all the stereotypes that you think of. There's these ideas of what Long Beach could be like. And Cambodians, when we came to Long Beach, we had to adapt to the surroundings of where we were, only because that's his life and that's his evolution. You change your surroundings, you change your settings. You got to learn how to evolve and adapt to your surroundings, or you just gonna get eaten alive. Mm-hmm. Just survival of the fittest. For those that don't know, gangs really primarily was made to protect ourselves from other people that were bullying Cambodians, or not just Cambodians, but like Southeast Asians and stuff like that. I think over time is when it got overspilled and the ideas of gangs took advantage of the youth and the young minds, and it turned into something more outside of protection for ourselves, and it just became like just this big old fight amongst each other, which is unfortunate that it is what it is today. You know what I mean? So, but aside from that, like Long Beach is home. Like Long Beach was, as my childhood, I loved it because it's real. Like, you growing up outside, playing kick the can, playing until like the street lights came on, watching your parents just work day in, day out. As a kid, you don't really think about that until you get older. Yeah. But when we was young, it was fun. You know what I'm saying? Playing with the water hose, just spraying the hose and stuff like that. So I just like a small little idea of like what Long Beach is like. And
going back to, Cambodians moving into Long Beach and really like finding their assimilation through gangs. The way that I see it is that, Long Beach, when a lot of these refugees and Cambodian families were coming over, yes, there were the families, the parents who had to work, right? That kept them busy. Yeah. We're talking about the youth, in around the time where people can be bullied. Right. There's a lot of racial tensions. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's when you're in a really poor area where like there's some stealing that happens and people kind of got to do what they got to do to make money or to get by. Right. And I think because of the lack of resources, both social resources from the city and just like when you come to a whole new country and you don't know anybody, like you don't really start off with much. Facts, yeah. And I feel like that is kind of what pushed a lot of this, gang involvement as like a sense of belonging. Yeah, definitely. I just feel like, at a time where our parents had to leave to work, we're kind of just at home and our mind is curious. And so as young Americans, we're looking at the TV, we're looking outside, we're looking at what our neighbors are doing, what just people outside are doing, and you get curious. And just like you said, the lack of resources, the lack of, I think, chaperones or people to kind of be there for us to guide us, I think played like a vital role. And that's not to even take away from my parents because they have to work, but it's just like,
we learned to adapt to like being in America. And that's just what life was about. For us, anybody living in the urban city, in the inner city, like will understand that.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I mean?
So about how many percentage of your friends did you know like that ended up being in gangs?
I wouldn't even say like my friends are gang members because like they're just my friends.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't look at them as like gang members or anything like that. Because like with each other, we joke around the same, you know what I'm saying? So I'd say not to look at them as gang members, but the ones that just maybe followed a certain lifestyle, like it's not like I treat them any different or nothing like that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think about joining one?
I did. Only because that was the norm back then. Like as you're on the block, you chilling with the homies. I was having a conversation with my homie like 2 days ago about that. And I was just telling him like, man, I'm glad that like this situation that had happened didn't pan out the way it did, because if it did, like I wouldn't be like where I am today. And he was telling me, because he's older, he was like, man, me and, you know, the older homie was just talking about you. Like, man, I'm glad that he steered away from that and chose like a life of his own. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And what did a life of your own look like? You know, you talk about just playing with your homies, goofing off while your parents were gone. Like, were you able to go to school? And like, tell us what life you did choose.
So in high school, just like all of us, like we were just kicking it with the homies. That's all we thought about. Just thought about girls, thought about the homies, just parties. And then it wasn't until like grooming into a young man, I always felt like I needed to do something with myself, or at least my parents instilled that in me. But not until like college or when I found music is when I was like, damn, like I got a voice and people are listening. And I had a way with words that kind of seemed to like have people fond of like the things that I was saying. So that just helped me create this idea. Like I wanted to use that, maybe go to school, maybe be a teacher, or just do something different. I didn't want to be a statistic of what everybody thought of a typical Long Beach Cambodian would be like. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to go against the grain, and I wanted to show people that even though I could play the part of what you do think of me already, I can also play the part of what you don't expect me to be. So that was like my biggest thing, is like, let me show you how I can still be as real as I can and do more than what you expected. So
So what kind of music did you end up getting into?
So middle school, I started doing poetry.
Love it.
For girls, of course.
Poetry for girls?
Poetry for girls.
I gotta get your girls on.
So it was like, I heard this Ashanti song. I forgot. Oh, she was saying like, baby, 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 something. I just took her words. I took her words, and then I just put my own. Then I wrote it for like my 6th grade girlfriend at the time. But then as I got older into like high school and college, I was maturing, and then I started getting into hip hop. Snoop was like the first person I ever heard.
He's from Long Beach.
Snoop, from Long Beach. Usher was like somebody I was a fan of. So like the mixture of like G-Funk, gangster rap, songs for girls, but storytelling was like my biggest thing.
I love that.
So people like Kendrick, J. Cole, Nipsey for sure is like, I would say like in the realm of like my type of music. So yeah.
And then so you went from poetry to having more like rap, hip hop influences. Did you ever like create like songs you put up on the internet? Was it like just with your homies? Like where did that end up taking you? So like I would just rap it for fun with the homies, and then one day like we was in my boy's garage and we was freestyling, and my boy Jandar, I tell this story a lot. He recorded me rapping, and I just kept it for myself. And he told me he wanted to put it on Facebook. I was like, nah, like I was shy. Yeah. And then one day I was at Lowe's, and then he put up the video, and then I just checked my phone, and it just kind of went crazy. Wow. I was like, oh shit, like people, you know, they vibing with it. They like it. They like the way my voice sounds, like, you know, and I was like, it felt good to get a compliment for like something I like doing without thinking like I'm gonna take it any further. You know what I mean? So that was like, I don't know, like 2010 maybe, when it finally went online. And then I say like 2011, like I made my first mixtape. Yeah, so from then on, I just started to like take it more serious. Nice. And then everything after that, we started doing shows, we started doing more songs. And then I just started to think like, I want people to accept this more than just he's doing it for fun. I was like, all right, let me take this and show people like
I can turn this passion into something serious. And from there, I'm going to show you like you can take something you love doing and be just as serious and hardworking into any craft, and kind of just try to inspire people that just like, yo, just do what you want to do something that make you happy, and just who cares what somebody think, you know what I mean?
I think for a lot of people, especially in like our generation and the generation that's, right after us, I feel like a lot of times people really take the two as two separate things. Like, I love doing this one thing, but it doesn't bring in money. I love doing this one thing, but I don't know about taking that next plunge. And like a lot of my episodes of my podcast are geared towards those types of people with their careers. You know, I'm like, hey, if you're in a 9-to-5 right now, that's cool. I'm not going to hate on it. But have you ever considered a side hustle? Have you ever considered like doing something that you love? Yeah. I love that you just went for it. You already knew you liked it. You're a little shy at first, but you got your friends to really pump you up. Right. And that you're just straight up performing and stuff. Are you still performing now?
Yeah, I just wrapped up my 3rd album, but we're just in the phase of like mixing the songs, the rollout, doing videos, merch, and all that stuff. Yeah. And I did like all the home music stuff, like at the same time I was like in school, like in college and going to school and the whole 9. Yeah. Because I think the idea of like music and the business behind it went hand in hand with how I organized like my schoolwork. So if you're going to be dedicated into this that much, or you have the drive to finish a project from A to B, and the process of doing it, you can apply the same things in just like, not just school, but like in life.
Yeah. You're basically using that time management, like
time. Yeah, for sure.
Oftentimes, like kind of look at it like if you're an athlete in school, right? You gotta make sure you keep your grades up. Yeah. Manage your time wisely so you can do that thing you love to do, whether it's like rapping or playing sports.
For sure.
Are you proud of yourself?
I don't know. I feel like I got a lot of work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really take too much time to like look at like, oh, I did this, I did that. But like there's some moments when like I had my mom at the show and she's like front row, and like, people go up to my mom like, yo, I love your son's music, yada yada. And like when she's happy, or my friends are happy, or like people like hit me up like, yo, your songs inspire me to do this, that. Like those are the moments I'd be like, damn, like I'm doing something.
For sure. I think a lot of the times when you're a creative, you always overlook all the little tiny wins that happen. You're always focused on like, okay, what's the next thing?
It's tough though, because you're so in a move, and it's just like you don't really have time to think really. You're just thinking about like the next thing, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So yeah.
I love that you said you had your mom at the show. Our friends, They bring their parents to the show all the time. Love it when they're there because they're like partying with us. Yeah. They're just super supportive.
Nah, everybody loves my mom because they recognize, they're like, oh, that's GFunk's mom.
Yeah. Like, was she super supportive the entire way? Or was she kind of like taken aback at first?
So my mom's naturally like a business person. So she's seen how serious I was with music. And plus, I did everything she had asked me to do, like go to school, finish school, go get a job. Right. Like, okay, I did that, so I can do this too. Yeah. So she was like, oh, this dude's not playing. Like, so I did that at the same time. And then so she's seen how it just kept me away from all this like negative stuff that was going on. So she was like, hey, this kid's happy. Like he did what I asked. Like, how can I tell him no? You know what I mean?
Do you ever wonder about, your parents and what their idea of the American dream is?
Yeah, I think it's just based on survival. Really, it's just like, yo, come over here, go to school, get a good job. That's just like the very traditional structure of like
what a Cambodian parent wants.
Yeah, or like a refugee, like just play it safe. But my mom, she kind of always told me to take risks. Like, yo, take risks. Don't be afraid. Like, you might fail, but just try it again. You know what I'm saying? Because they had come over here and did some businesses that didn't work out. Yeah. But it's not like she gave up. Like, she just kept going. You know what I mean?
Were they in the Khmer Rouge too?
So she left kind of like at the brink when it was like really cracking.
It was getting
when
crazy.
She was like pregnant with my older brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were they actually like in the refugee camps or the?
She don't really talk to me a lot about that because she has like PTSD, so I don't really like talk to her about that. But I know my dad was in the war. he had left to America first.
Okay.
When he got situated, she had came with like the rest of my siblings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not an uncommon thing of like your parents not wanting to kind of share about what happened.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me because it's like, how did you get your mom to open up? Because I wrote a book on her journey, and her experiences in the community.
Which is good. It was really good too, by the way. She went through a lot. Like I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that she doesn't remember too, right? So like in the process of trying to get that information from her, it was tough because you're looking at an individual who's lived through all those atrocities and what had happened. Yeah. And then having to recall it back, it kind of like puts them back at that time when that was happening, which was full of like fear. It was full of like unknown. Like, one day you wake up and like the whole country's in war and like.
It's crazy. And I just be like, man, like they gave up like everything like to try to just give us a better life. So it was just like, man, who am I to like complain about
anything,
some small shit, like being outside or doing my homework or working at the shop, like stuff like that. But you appreciate it more as you get older, though. When you kids, you just like, I'm just trying to be outside.
Yeah, when you're a kid, like it's just the worst thing ever. You're like, why does my family have a family business? Why do I have to work?
Yeah, like I don't know anything about cars. They asking me to go do an oil change. I'm like, no, it's not gonna work out, So.
Did they own an auto shop?
Yeah.
Nice.
So my dad had worked as a mechanic for like the police academy in Arizona where I was born. And then when he came over here, he found work at a mechanic shop. And then like some time had passed and then they ended up just buying the shop out.
Nice.
So yeah.
A lot of Cambodians end up being mechanics too.
For sure.
They're like the best mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, Cambodian men like to get down and dirty. They know all the...
You get an oil change and a Heineken at the same time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My dad too, when he was in the war, one of the things that he had to do some like electrical work stuff for them. So whenever, at the shop anything broke, like he was there to fix it.
Right.
Very, very hands-on.
Yeah.
It sounds like your parents, like my parents, worked really, really hard and they really wanted you to get a good education.
They did, but then like even like with us, being American, like we still gotta find our own identity. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of stuff that being an American kid growing up in the 90s is like, not to take away what they went through, but we also going through our own things. Like an identity crisis, trying to fit in, trying to find a voice, and trying to like translate like to our parents, like, like it's a different way of living here than how you guys were raised. And it's not to like go against what you guys are teaching me, but it's like we trying to find our own way too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always like to highlight our parents and their struggle, but as first, second generation Americans here, like, we all went through some sort of bullying, finding our own voice.
Yeah.
Even like amongst Asians, like if you think about Asians just as a category, like Cambodians like barely fit in the Asian category.
Right.
I found myself, even like if I met like a Korean friend or like a Filipino friend, like I was still so different.
We like a mystery. We like a Bigfoot or something. You know what I'm saying?
Like Cambodia. I think I remember one time as a kid, like they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm Chinese, Cambodian, Thai." They're like, "Where's Cambodia?"
Right. I'm just like,
well, in our history books, there's not a lot that's really said about Cambodia. A lot of people don't even know that the Khmer region even happened.
Right.
Luckily, when we learn about like the Holocaust, like there's documentation, there's a lot of that. But I feel that Cambodia, there's still like, it's again, like this mystery of like what really happened. There's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot that is not even highlighted that really should.
It's such like a pivotal point in all of our lives, even like directly or indirectly, even like the kids that might be born like right now today, like they would have no idea of what life was like in the 90s, going back into the 80s, and then for our parents in the 70s and stuff like that.
Yeah. I have a little sister who's 12, so she's definitely Gen Z, and like I try to like
I'm already knowing.
I try to like explain to her, or like I look at her sometimes and I'm like, damn, like you're just so ungrateful. Like you're so entitled. Like, you know, like what mom had to go through to get that thing, or to like for what I had to do to get here, and they just don't know, you know, and that's sad. Like
it is, but I always try to be like, man, there's just maybe or like just in my scenario, I gotta update or find a way to translate saying the same thing in their terms of communication. So when I was talking to the homie, I was like, we need to be able to talk to the kids in a way that they understand in their narrative, like social media in the digital world, digital currencies. Like for us, people my age range, like we might understand like more hands-on kind of thing. But for the younger kids, they get the whole social media world, TikTok and all that, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think we gotta like basically retell the story in TikTok form.
I ain't doing no TikTok, but like, you know, that's just an example, you know what I'm saying?
For sure. But I really resonate with that. Because of course, like for us, it's storytelling, right? It's passing down the stories of what like our parents went through, what our family went through. Obviously, it's just through what we were told. Right. But, you know, this next generation, you might tell them, they might not get it. So you got to like really speak their language and how they perceive information. That's definitely good. I'll take it on. I'm going to make her, I'm going to have her go on the Cambodian algorithm and hopefully something will come up for her. One question that I have that I ask myself a lot is like, what would have happened if like you or I were born in Cambodia if our parents never made it here to America? Have you ever thought about what that would be like?
Nah, hell nah. Thank God I was born here. But I don't know. I think naturally, like, if I can just say how I was or how I am now, like, if I was just back in Cambodia, I'd naturally be somebody of, like, a provider or, like, somebody who's very vocal within, like, the community or something like that. Like, I'll probably be chopping coconuts for everybody in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? Or just doing something to where it just brings an abundance of resources for not just me, because I ain't no selfish person, but it's about kind of like growing a garden in your backyard and letting everybody use it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So just something like that if I was to be back like in Cambodia or something.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, like I've been back a lot of times, like when I was younger, and I remember like, you know, my mom sharing stories with me, like, when I was like 8, we went to Cambodia, my mom always goes back and donates, does the whole thing. And I remember one time we were in the car and she you know, the little kids are coming up to the car, like selling like flowers and snacks and like all the stuff. And my mom turns and she basically goes, okay, like I'll take all of them. And as we're driving away, my mom goes, I used to be one of those little girls, like trying to sell stuff. And it gave me goosebumps because you don't really like see it until like somebody, like my mom went like, that used to be me. Right. I used to hustle like that. And like, that's literally their livelihood.
Yeah. Do you ever like get chills or like you'll go to the places where your mom was and you feel like you put yourself in her shoes and you get to like get these flashbacks like, yo, I can see everything she was explaining to me. Like, this is where the war or bombing was. I was right here. I was here selling Jack Quai or like, you know what I'm saying?
I do, but I also feel like I will never truly understand the types of growth that she had to go through at such a young age.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that
she started young. That was crazy. I was like, man, like she really didn't get to like play. You really can. You just, that's crazy.
I mean, there's like in the way beginning where like, gosh, it's all about play, and then bam, like you gotta grow up real quick. And like, you know, honor and support her parents. Like they're like the most important things to her is like her parents, keeping them alive. Like when she was in the camps, she would just like save her food for my grandma, her mom, which like, you know, she couldn't like walk as fast as everybody else to get the food. That's some survival like
that's crazy
stuff.
It's like, for those that don't know, I'm referencing like stories that she has in her book, which is out by the way, you know what I'm saying? But I was just talking about how her mom was having stories of just like having a fend for not just herself, but for the family, for the mom. They going through the jungle just to find food, just to bring back to them. And it's just like, this is of her like at 6, 7, all the way up to like you're a teenager before, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just wild.
It's super wild.
Yeah.
And I know it's so cool to chat with like another person who has parents and family who've been through something like that. Cause I feel like, you know, adding on to our own assimilation and the way that we had to adapt in the 90s of like translating and like really nurturing our parents who've been through a lot, but also trying to find ourselves.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I'm still going through that.
No, for sure. It's definitely like a lifelong journey, I think, for all of us.
Like, you know, you might not even like second guess it, especially if English is like your first language, but like trying to translate something like for school for your parents, like, hey, like I need to do this, like,
or how to reset the Wi-Fi or something like that.
I mean, I'm just glad my mom can text message now.
Emoji crazy, just
for sure. And like, you know, I really applaud like our generation for like being the first ones to do that. Like this next generation, the generation after, they're gonna have stuff set up for them already.
Facts. It's gonna be interesting because I'm sure they're gonna have some tide turn into where they're developing something for them to where we're gonna have to be like, wow, like I'm gonna have to pat you on the back for that one. But until then, y'all need to, you know, get dirty and use your hands, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like it's just kind of crazy that like what we've also been through as like first, second generation kids and like growing up, it's like I do now see like so much more of importance of our culture and our family and like what our parents have tried to teach us. But it's a lot of unlearning a lot of things too. Like, for example, like my mom, she's been through a ton of things. So she definitely has trust issues. You know, she's definitely very wary and like very kind of private. And it's like, I feel like for her, she's unlearning a lot of stuff she had to learn in the Khmer Rouge, which the Khmer Rouge was meant to teach this whole generation to kind of like be like one family for themselves. You know, a big part of it was like people never did share in this time, and they were trying to teach people and brainwash them to go against each other.
I think also like to tap into what you said, the Khmer Rouge was at a time where they didn't allow you to be great. You couldn't be different. You couldn't be talented. You couldn't be knowledgeable. You couldn't even seem like you was smart or they're going to kill you. And it kind of sucks because in a way, I feel like it's almost like that even like in today's day and age where like you're not expected to work a certain job or live in a certain area or do certain things. But like, I never understood why that we have like this invisible threshold. That we think is there, but it's really not. But I think it's just the idea of fear that we're not capable, but really like our potential is there, but we just have to tap into that and figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Fear is such a big part of, you know, this generational trauma that I talk about. It's like this fear of, you know, again, that invisible threshold. And sometimes it's the fear that your parents instill in you because they're still stuck in survival mode. We're in this we're in the thriving mode. We're past survival. We're okay now. And it's so cool to hear like you're thriving in something that you love doing.
I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? So
I also wanted to talk about the other project that you're up to. Could you tell us a bit about Khmmunity?
So Khmmunity, I started in 2020, like during the midst of the pandemic. So this is a story I never really told nobody. So I was having a conversation with me and three of my other homies, Ryan, the homie BC, and the homie Vanny. Three of others who are deemed maybe as gang members, but now in their life have just blossomed into their fullest potential, right? And so we always have these conversations about like, look, we need to change the narrative of what people have, their perspective of the ideal typical Cambodian. And we were just talking about like a platform or just being able to use our voice and making the struggle look beautiful, making our story artistic enough to where it's on the levels of like Steven Spielberg or just making something look like it's just a vibe, you know what I'm saying? Like we ain't gotta be like gangster all the time or gotta be like, you know, super hardcore, but we can tell that story in a way to where it's beautiful. one day I was just randomly driving and I was just like, cause I be rapping. I'm thinking about words and I'm like, community, like, come on. I was like, oh shit, like that's hard. So I had a video shoot. I had the homie press a shirt and then I just wore it just to be fresh. And then everybody kept hitting me up, yada, like, whose brand is that? And then I'm like, oh, it's mine.
Yeah.
And so the next day I just got it trademarked. I was like, okay, this is something. And so I knew I wanted to do something bigger than music. I wasn't going to be rapping forever, but I wanted to still be able to use my voice. So community is to where we can build this ecosystem of renewable resources within our community and thrive off renewable energy in a sense. So renewable energy is just like fossil fuel, or it's kind of like things that over time get recycled and you can just use it over and over and over again. Like the idea of solar panels. You use the sun makes energy, you use the energy, whatever like that. And so the first thing I did was sell shirts. And so I said, you buy a shirt, we take the profits from the shirt, we give it to the kids in the community. And so what they're going to take with it is maybe that piece of hope that they get from it. And they become the future leaders that they're going to be. They make opportunities for those, whoever, and then maybe people in our community take those opportunities and do the same thing. So where they can be future leaders, making more opportunities for ourselves, things like that. I wanted to be able to do give backs, food drives, and just events to where it can be like, yo, we can thrive within ourselves. And we no longer need like the middleman. We no longer need to ask somebody for like an outlet. It's just like you think about Airbnb, you think about like Turo, you think about all these other places that no longer need these big Fortune 500 companies. Yes. It's now we can do it ourselves. And a lot of times, like, it was just people like not trying to trust your vision or trying to believe in what you wanted to do. So I was like, all right, let me take the risk. And even if I take an L, I'm going to show you guys the steps of what we could do and what our full potential is when we come together as people, and hopefully begin something great. You know what I'm saying?
That is such an incredible concept and so like poetically said. It's like keeping things in the community and really like teaching kids like from a young age of like, yo, like this is your community, this is what we can all do together. And what I really think that we've needed all along is like a leader in the community. Yeah. And it's so incredible that you've taken that first step and you're like, you put your flag in the ground. You're like, this is what we're doing. We're gonna create this together. Yeah. And that's always been like my question, like how do you teach a kid how to fish, right? You don't want to just give them the fish. How do you teach them how to fish? And I really think that it just comes from like constant community engagement, like having resources within the community and like really networking and bringing that community together from such a broken past.
No, for sure. And I can't even be up here trying to say like I'm like Malcolm X or something like that. But it was just like in high school, I had got a scholarship and then I was like, damn, like somebody's willing to give me money just to go to school. I'm like, that little piece of hope. I was like, all right, I'll go to school, take the money. And then from there, it just kept going. Then I finished. So I was like, if I can take the same mantra and give it to like a kid in the hood, he gonna look at it like, damn, I don't have to like do all this other stuff that they normally stereotypically think you about to do. It's like, I can go pick up a camera and be a director. Yeah. Like I can be a chef. Like I can actually do more than what I initially thought I could do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because that was just the same idea I had. I was like, I could rap if I want to. Like, why not? You know what I mean? I could go be an engineer and still be in the hood and drink Hennessy like everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Can't forget the Hennessy.
Yeah.
The Hennessy. Yeah. I think when you actually like bring that value of hope that somebody belongs or understands or like believes in you, like that can speak bounds because you're in an environment where that doesn't exist, again, with like language barriers or just like limited opportunities, and you get that like taste of hope, you like start to believe in yourself.
No, facts. And when it comes from somebody who like is from the same environment, looks the same as who you look like in the mirror, speaks the same way, or just understands and relates, like it's easier to translate the information you're teaching. And it's like, let me take that and kind of sit with it and see what this person is talking about. You know what I mean?
So for Khmmunity, like when you were building it, is it still just you and your homies, or do you have some other people involved now?
So my nieces and my nephews, they fold my clothes. I pay them like $20 an hour. 2 hours only though. They only 2 hours.
Sign up to fold some shirts.
You know what I mean? But it's just like, of course, I wanted to build to be a big company.
Yeah.
But in terms of right now, it's only been like 2 years into the game. So really, I'm just playing out all the ideas and getting the traction going to where right now people are really starting to see it and they're starting to believe like, okay, like I see where it's going. Because we had just gave our scholarships, our first 2, by the way, like last week.
Nice.
And so people is like starting to see and believe like, okay, this guy's a man of his word. Mm-hmm. And so it's like now we just paying more attention, and I just see a lot more of like the older traditional Khmer people starting to believe like, man, we need to start passing the baton to like the young folks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you think like you need the most help in building this right now? Like is it more involvement from your community?
No, I think it's just time, to be honest, because like outside of Khmmunity, like I have a full-time career. I have my music that I'm doing full-time. We design merch, and it's just like I have so many ideas running that I probably need help more to like organize my time, or have somebody be like the forefront for Khmmunity that understands like the same vision that I do. And then I can just focus on like the album, focus on like doing these other things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah. I know. When you're wearing a bunch of hats, you know, you have to get really good at organizing and delegating.
Nah, yeah, it's tough because you just like your mind wanders and you just do a little bit of everything. But then next thing you know, like the day ends and it's just like, oh, I got to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what it could look like for you too is like, you're an ideation machine, you know, like me. I have so many ideas, like literally, and you gotta just write them down. And then also, once you write down everything of like, okay, this is what I need to get done. I don't have enough time. You know, you put it out there on your Instagram or your Facebook or even on your website. Khmmunity's looking for, you know, a brand person, or we're looking for this. And you'd be surprised. Like, there is somebody out there who might read that and be like, I can be that. I resonate with that message.
For sure.
So that's why I asked, because it's like sometimes as like a creative artist, you're busy
I feel you.
And these things fall off to the back burner. You know, much like when I started this podcast in 2020, I can only have started because I like my work started to slow down.
Yeah. Just like you said, I need to treat it really as like a full-time occupation and be like, okay, I need to make a schedule. I need to make the plans. I can't just be chilling and doing things when I want to. It's like, okay, let me just treat this like as I need to and put full focus on it as much as I would like my album or something like that. Because I was the artist first and then Khmmunity came after.
Yes.
But I'm still a man of the people, like at the end of the day, before all of that, you know?
For sure. And I just love that your focus is like also bringing it back to the community.
Yeah.
Like my whole thing too is like when I go back to Cambodia and like sharing like a little bit about like just like my experience there. This last time I got to go, but usually I'm with my parents, so we're usually eating, go to temple, family stuff. This time I got to go with my cousin for one night.
When was that? You went for one night?
No, well, like one night of the 2.
Oh, I got you.
It's a pretty long story, but essentially my grandma had passed away in the pandemic. Yeah. And at that time, we weren't allowed to go to Cambodia.
Oh, that's right. The shutdown. Yeah.
So when I went to film with Vice in 2020, I had met up with my mom.
That was for what, the Donut King?
Yes, for the Donut King film. It had just come out. So we did a segment with my Uncle Ted in Cambodia.
Yeah, right.
And so we were there for 2 weeks. When I got there, I had like one more week until the filming had begun. And I was at, my cousin James was there too. He met up with us in Kampot.
Right.
He was also there for he was there for holiday too. But he was like, my mom's like, hey, why don't you go with your cousin to go and, you know, say your respects to your grandma, and then you can come meet us before the filming in a week. So we had like a week, right?
Right.
That night he took me to a KTV. So I'd never really been to a KTV before.
That's like what, like karaoke?
It's a karaoke bar, but there's also a few other elements behind it too.
Right.
So we're walking in the dark, in Cambodia, like there's not really any lights going on right here.
Yeah.
We walk to this KTV and I'd never been there before, it's like, just think of me like a little innocent, like kid going to Cambodia for the first time. Like I never stepped out of like being with my parents or my family. So he takes me there, he orders fried rice. We're just sitting there hanging out. And then I see, he points over there. He's like, over there is where like, if you want to take, a girl home, you go there and you pick your girl. And when I looked over at the area over there, these girls were like young, like 10 to like 15.
Oh, that's wild.
And like that moment was just something that like I couldn't explain. Like I was shaking. I was just like, oh my God, like number one, this could have been me. This could have been my mom. This could have been any female, because they just don't have the opportunities there. It's either like you go to school, but your family's still like really poor, or you go and you do this other hustle, which is not really ethical at all. But it's like, it's a business out there. Yeah. So just like being there and like experiencing that for just like even one night, and like was just really eye opening for me, because it gave me this thought of like, the only way these people are going to get out is through education. Yeah. And so I went on a tangent and I forgot why I was telling you the story. But like,
it's all good.
Anyways, it's just basically these moments where like I look at my own life and I'm like, what makes me different from that person? It's like, it's really that I was given the opportunity and they don't have that many. Yeah. So one of my missions is to, find these opportunities for people. And I feel like that's what you're doing for the kids in Long Beach. Yeah. Is that you are basically showing them there is opportunity past what they even think is possible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. My goal really is to tap into every big market with a Cambodian population and have us footprinted in all those like cities. For sure. So like Tacoma, like Massachusetts. Yeah. I know we got a big bubble in like Colorado, Texas, even New York. There's like a big Cambodian not big, but they got Cambodians out there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, yeah.
So when a kid in like benefits from Khmmunity, what happens? Like, is it scholarship? Like, what are some things that like Khmmunity has done and like hopes to do in the future?
So the first thing we did was build a scholarship for the kids. So everybody who bought a shirt within the past like 2 years, from 2020 to now, we took profits of that and made a fund into Poly. So Poly was the high school that I went to. Nice. It's a lot that a lot of Cambodians go to. And the way I did it was, I didn't want no cliche, like write me an essay. Oh yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna read it. Like, just to be honest, like I want to find that kid who really is deserving. And so me and my high school teacher linked up, and he was like, yo, like there's this kid I want to talk to you about. It kind of reminds me of you from the East Side. He's here on the weekends. You can tell he's just going to be a future leader. So I just started following him like on Instagram. Yeah. He didn't really know. And I just been watching him and just paying attention to like his work ethic. Because a lot of times the drive is there, but your grades don't necessarily define you. Yeah. I was a 2.0 student and wrote it, you know what I mean? Not only that, there was another girl he told me about whose family is back home in Cambodia. She's here with her brother working 2 jobs. Like they're both going to college. I'm like, those are the kids who are deserving that aren't really thinking about like, I need to go sign up for a scholarship, or they're just so focused on just making ends meet and just making it happen that I was like, okay, these are the kids that deserve it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the scholarship for sure, I want to be able to tap into every high school in Long Beach. Okay. There's like, I don't know, 5, 6 or whatever like that. And then from there, that'd be going to like every high school in the nation that has a Cambodian population. And then I also want to do give backs. I want to do food drives, do events, do concerts to where people can come and enjoy. And just think of the idea of like a Cambodian event, party, musical to where it's just about having fun and bringing the people together with no ill will, with no real like kind of back-driven corporate intention and nothing like that. Yeah. And like, I want people to know that the idea of community is based on people. It's so the more that people come, support, you don't even have to buy anything. You can just post it. You can comment, like show love, like it's all good. That drives what goes into community. That drives that goes what back to go back into the community.
Yeah.
So like all that plays like a significant role. You know what I mean?
Well, I love what you're doing, seriously, and I haven't heard anything like that happening in our community. So thank you for
appreciate
doing
it.
that.
Thank you.
I'm sure that Donut Princess is gonna have a collab with Khmmunity at some point.
Turn up.
And I'm just super, super proud of you. You know, you've come a long way, and this is our idea of assimilating too. It's like, let's be a role model for people in our community. Let's do our thing, but let's also show people like it's all about giving back. It's all about serving your community.
For sure.
And I'm
doing it and just doing it with like style and grace and like making it look, turned up, but at the same time having like initiative behind it. You know what I'm saying?
So how can people find you, to connect with you, or even just look you up to listen to your music? Tell us exactly how to keep in touch with you.
So as far as music, GFunkSupreme on all streaming platforms, same with Instagram. If you want to follow Khmmunity, the best thing is follow the Instagram page. Khmmunity. So it's like community with a KHM.
Yes.
And so me and my boy, Satara, who runs Khmer Renaissance, we've been childhood friends for like a cool little minute. And we made like our thing at the same time. Like in 2020, like we was at the gym just chopping it. And they was like, oh, you should do this and I should do that. And then like fast forward to now, it's just like, yo. So we just got like a gang of little plans that we have. So
I love him too. Like just like what he's doing and the way he's presenting his content. I love that he's also trying to bring like the community together too. Like he's definitely like shown me a lot of love on his posts. And I appreciate that and love that. And same here. Like I feel like I'm always trying to learn more about what it means to be, a modern Cambodian person.
Right.
And also looking back at our roots, like there's another resource, All Things Cambodian.
Oh, that's right. It's a gang. I love how Instagram or just social media did the job of connecting us all together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's so cool. And like literally we met because we're in the Cambodian professionals group.
I honestly, don't hate me, but I don't really be on that page too much. But I just be like, I like people's posts and I just post things here and there.
Yeah.
And then that's just how we linked up. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like, as I'm like starting to get to know the Cambodian community more, I'm just realizing like, like the ones with the same vibration, like they all know each other. Like
it's a gang. Long Beach is deep. Like we all friends in Long Beach.
Yeah.
So
so I'm super excited. And you guys check out his music. You don't see a lot of Cambodian rappers out there. I think the only other Cambodian rapper I know is like Stupid Young.
Shout out to Young, that's the homie.
But definitely show your support for a community and just kind of stay posted on what they're doing. Like I love that they're actually like grassroots on the level, helping kids and teaching them about hope. So thank you guys again so much for watching and for listening. If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you can see more. And until next time, holla at your girl.
Hey.